What a day it is, everyone. I'm having my very first go on an Italian motorcycle. It's the first one ever to feature on the channel. This is the Aprilia RS 660. Now, this is the 2023 model, I believe, but the 2024, I think, is exactly the same as this. But wow, isn't she a looker? Look at all these lines and the integrated winglets here. Just absolutely fantastic. Once again, the Italians designing a beautiful bike. Look at that. It's absolutely stunning. And then you've got this integrated exhaust as well down the bottom, nice and hidden and tucked away. Mwah, absolutely beautiful. What a bike this is to look at. And a massive thank you to Fraser's of Gloucester for letting me have a go on this awesome bike for you guys. They've got a showroom that is absolutely jam-packed with new and used models, so definitely go and check them out if you're in the Herefordshire area, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire or Bristol area. I'm sure they'll do you a fantastic deal on any new and used motorcycles. In fact, I bought my ZH2 from Fraser's back when they were selling Kawasaki's from new. Alright, but as always, shall we have a listen to what she sounds like? I think that's always a good start, isn't it? Now, I've only had this bike for a few moments, and she has left a bit of an impression on me already. Be a racer. Here we go. A lot of grunt. Certainly sounds like a parallel twin, right? Yeah, this bike, I really don't know what to expect here because I've never been on an Italian bike before. This is my first experience on one. I have to say, I mean, apart from the looks, the first thing I noticed on this bike, there's a lot of vibration coming through the seat, coming through the foot pegs, coming through the handlebars. A lot of vibration. And this unit here on the left is massive. It's really chunky. When I'm like trying to reach for the indicator, it seems really far away. It seems like I've got to move my thumb quite far away from the handlebar to reach it. I'm not sure if I'd be able to operate the clutch at the same time. I don't know, maybe it's something we can test out later. But this bike certainly has got a lovely amount of torque. I mean, as you'd expect, this is a motorcycle that, I mean, is kind of born from the ground up as a parallel twin, which, I don't know, forgive me, is that a first from Aprilia? The RS 660 and the Tuono 660? I don't know. But let's see what this bike's made of, shall we? This bike's quick, very quick. Hopefully we'll have a chance to do some 0 to 60 runs with it. Very, very good. And the fact that these kinds of bikes now are coming with quick shifters as standard, I mean, what a platform to have a quick shifter on. It makes so much sense to me. And the quick shifter is quite smooth as well. It's not that clunky, which is always nice to see. I mean, experience-wise so far, this bike has been pretty damn good. And it does surprise me how much horsepower this bike has towards the top end of the range. You really do feel a bump in torque as you go up the revs, which is, well, what you'd expect from kind of a sporty tourer. Well, I say sporty tourer, this is quite an aggressive sport position, I suppose. Not that uncomfortable. The ergonomics are, I mean, they're not that aggressive, but maybe after a little while you will start feeling it on your wrists. But it's not all that cramped either. I'm 5'11", 6 foot on a good day, and I'm not feeling all that cramped on this bike, which is good. This screen is really bright as well. It's always nice to see. Very readable, everything is clear, which is good. I mean, the overall feel of the bike is good, to be honest with you. It does feel quality. See what I mean though about the vibrations? You can see vibrations everywhere, even in the mirrors, you can see vibrations. Now maybe that's just what it's like with a parallel twin these days, but I don't think so. I mean, when I had a go on the Vulcan S650, which is a parallel twin from Kawasaki, that engine is very smooth. Very, very smooth. Throttle response is very good. Interesting, the wheelie control was kicking in there, the traction control. Okay, interesting. It really wants to keep that front end down. It cuts out quite abruptly, the wheelie control. Not sure if I'll be able to change that, but yeah, definitely wants to keep that front end down. Maybe the Tuono is a little bit different in that regard. Maybe it'll let you pick up the front end a little bit. That would be nice. But overall, I mean, wow, what a bike. An absolute blast on it. The one thing I keep noticing are those vibrations. That's the only thing. My biggest criticism of this bike currently is that those vibrations are pretty big. Some people don't care about it. I don't. It's not really something that affects me, but I know that you lot like to know how the bike feels in your hands and around your feet and your bum. Well, there you go. Feels like what's the word? Oh man, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels very raw in a way. It does feel like you're on a little race bike. And I suppose that's what Aprilia were going for when they designed this one. Very good. Very good, and light. Incredibly light, this thing. Very quick, very light. I mean, that is the perfect combination for a motorcycle, isn't it? Alright everyone, let's talk some specs, shall we? So this is the Aprilia RS 660, which is running a 659cc parallel twin, which is producing 100 horsepower. That's insane, 100 horsepower from this. Basically, it's a 650cc parallel twin. And it's producing 67 newton meters of torque, all whilst weighing in less than 185 kilograms wet. That is incredibly light, and you feel it. That's just awesome, man. What a little spec sheet that is. This is a middleweight bike, easily. And it's putting out some serious numbers. Now it's interesting, because recently I had a go on Yamaha's MT-09 SP, and even though it does have a lot more torque than this, it does produce similar horsepower numbers, but that engine is far more aggressive, and it's a 3-cylinder as well, inline 3. But it's interesting to compare spec sheets of bikes when even though they feel so different, throttle response is absolutely just out of this world good. Hopefully at the moment we'll get a chance to do some 0 to 60 runs, but I mean, I expect this bike to be anywhere from 4 to 5 seconds, 0 to 60, maybe even quicker than that. Maybe less than 3.5 seconds. It's gotta be, right? Gotta be. And it's got cruise control as well. Now forgive me, I'm not all that familiar with the way how Aprilia systems work. Maybe we can have a little fiddle around later on. Yeah man, this thing's great. It's funny because the only thing that would give it away that you're riding a parallel twin is the vibration. Everything else, the throttle response and the performance, definitely feels like you're on something a little bit bigger than what is effectively a 650. 650 parallel twin. You really feel that front end coming up off the ground. I've got to turn off traction control. See if I can figure out how to do that. By the way, the button for changing the rider mode is down here underneath the starter, which is interesting. That's not something I'm used to. Individual. AWC disabled. I imagine that's wheelie control. So we'll see if this bike will pull some wheelies now. So you've got a commuter mode, a dynamic mode, and an individual mode, where you can, I imagine you can set the traction control and things like that. I'm not sure if it's got different power modes, maybe not, maybe that's a little bit too advanced. I say that, I mean the fact that this thing is, I keep forgetting, this thing is basically a 650 parallel twin. That is good. That is very good. Yeah, this is way out of the league of a parallel 650, parallel twin, honestly. This is on another level. Which is crazy, man, what they can do with 2 cylinders and a little bit of RPM in a lightweight package. This thing is absolutely awesome, man. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. It's quite funny as well, because even though you've got the TFT dash, you haven't got a lot of buttons here. There's not a lot of things to clog up kind of the controls of the bike, which can look a little bit intimidating sometimes, you know. I mean, you've got loads of controls everywhere, and it looks like the control for the lights is here. I think it's got auto lights, but yeah, this is wicked. This is awesome. I'm loving this so far. This is a bike you could track day, man. Absolutely. I'm not a track day rider myself, but this certainly feels like one of those bikes that could certainly compete on a track against maybe something like a ZX4 RR or maybe even a Ninja 650. Not the most track-oriented motorcycle in the world, the Ninja 650. It's more of a sport tourer, really, than anything else. But yeah, nothing feels out of the ordinary. I don't know. I was expecting kind of like something a little bit different. I don't know what I mean by that, but something to be different. And it feels very, very similar to what I've ridden before in a lot of ways. It feels very familiar, which I suppose is good. Not in a boring way. Just saying that if you're like me and you're used to riding Japanese bikes, well, you're not going to feel like you're an alien spacecraft or something like that riding this. This is, yeah, exactly as you'd want it to be if you were just to jump on and ride it. Clutch is very light feeling as well, very, very light. She's good. I mean, this thing will wheelie. I have no doubt whatsoever this thing will wheelie. Maybe might give it a go in a bit, I don't know. But yeah, it's got horsepower, it's got torque. The seat is actually very comfortable. I like the feel of the seat. It's actually got more cushioning than I expected. And as a city bike as well, I mean, we're just riding around town here. It's doing alright. The suspension is a little bit hard, but I mean, of course, I think that's totally adjustable. Looks like it is here. I'm not sure. Not sure exactly what the adjustments are on this bike. Maybe we can have a look at the rear shock in a bit as well and see what adjustment we've got there. But yeah, doing alright around town. Of course, when you've got a lightweight bike and you've got a really light clutch, well, you know, riding around town is easy. Very, very easy. As you start braking and things like that, you do feel more weight over your hands, naturally. But it is more weight than I don't know. It's difficult to say, but it is. You do feel pressure on your hands. I think you'd have to get used to maybe sitting upright a little bit. It is quite a throwaway where the handlebars are over the tank. You do have to reach for them a little bit, but no, it's not crazy. Absolutely not. Right, well, the city riding portion of this video I think is done. Let's go ahead and take her out on some country roads and see how she does. Really don't think you're gonna have any problems overtaking or anything like that on this bike. This bike's got plenty of power for that. Don't worry. Thing is as well, because I'm a guy that has come from a parallel twin 650, that's one of my first big bikes. Riding this feels totally different in a lot of ways. I mean, it is producing more horsepower, a lot more horsepower than my Euro 6 did. Oh yeah, this bike will wheelie. This bike will wheelie. That is wicked. You do have to be kind of higher up in the RPMs though. Naturally, as you'd expect. Gosh. Thing is though, you do want a bit of that punch. This is a parallel twin. You want a punch, a load of torque down low. And this bike does have it a little bit. It does. It's not overly aggressive, but it does have torque down low, which is always nice to see for a street bike. Rather than having all of the torque, like up at the top end of the rev range. Always seems a bit silly to me when you ride a bike like that. For just for street use, just not a lot of point really in it. It's really funny actually how that seems to be the theme at the moment, is getting motorcycles, making them as light as possible. And it does make a lot of sense because you're able to get more performance from the engine because it is lighter, significantly lighter. I think my CBR 600RR from back in the day, from 2003, was weighing in about 200 kilograms wet from memory. And it was weighing it down in a lot of ways. When you're able to shave off 10, 15, 20 kilograms, you really do feel it, not just in how nimble the bike is, how it feels to ride, but also in terms of just outright acceleration, torque, and the rest of it. I think those vibrations, after a little while, would, I think they start to get a little uncomfortable. If you're riding this bike over a longer journey, I think it might start to get a little bit uncomfortable. But you guys let me know, if you own these bikes, and you've ridden them over a long period of time, in one go, let me know. Let me know what it's like. But just from my experience, and kind of like what I've had before when I've been riding bikes for a long period of time. Yeah, my right wrist is starting to get a little bit sleepy, shall we say. I'll tell you what, the throttle on this thing is amazing. You can be really precise with the amount of throttle that you want. Just like going around bends, you don't have to put on the brakes so much. You just let off the throttle ever so slightly and get the speed that you want, the speed that you need. Yeah, the throttle on this thing is awesome. Love that. Alright, so it's interesting. As I was going a little bit deeper into that bend, my butt cheek did get uncomfortable a little bit. It's a little bit hard towards the edges of this seat, maybe because there's not a lot of travel there. Yeah, if you're going hard into a corner, you'll probably feel it on your butt. Top end of this bike is a lot of fun. The fact it's got that horsepower at the top end is sweet. And you do feel the front end of the bike getting really floaty. Woo! The brakes very good as well. very, very good. But yeah, man. Tell you what, I'm having more fun on this bike than I thought I would do. Because as I've mentioned earlier, this is a parallel twin 650. I mean, these are, it's kind of bread and butter kind of stuff. But nope, once again, as always, you don't look at a spec sheet or an engine and expect to understand what the experience is going to be like, all based off of the spec sheet. The experience is totally different. Totally different. That's wicked. Honestly, this is one of those bikes, yet again, that just screams fun. Have fun with me. And encouraging you to as well. Especially because it's not, you're not going crazy speeds either when you're on 100% throttle. They are manageable. And so you can kind of have a lot of innocent fun with this bike. Alright, gotta see if I can find a bit of room to do a 0 to 60 run, haven't I? This is a different route to usual. Let's see if I can get just a little bit of space to do a 0 to 60. This is honestly a lot of fun. And it's interesting because when you go onto the Aprilia website, they don't actually give you the prices of these things, which I find a little bit strange. But I mean, these things are going for about 10 grand, basically 10 grand. So in that same kind of price range as a ZX4 RR, as I mentioned earlier, which is a lot of money for a parallel twin 650, but it's not a parallel twin 650. It doesn't feel like one to ride. It does feel like it has a lot more to it than what the spec sheet would imply. So as always, my recommendation is to go and test ride it. If you're looking at one of these things, if you're looking for a middleweight bike that is quite sporty, or very sporty, with a decent engine, well, this is one of those bikes that I think you have to consider, hopefully in the near future. Woo! Hopefully in the near future we'll be able to have a go on a Tuono as well. 660. It uses the same engine, so I imagine it's pretty much going to be a similar experience, but I expect the ergonomics to be a little bit more comfortable than this. But it certainly does have a nice punch. Enough of a punch that it will allow you to pull wheelies in first gear just on the throttle. Which is just it's wicked. Right, let's see if I can do a quick 0 to 60 around here. These roads aren't very straight though. Unfortunately. I can pull wheelies comfortably. Right, sorry about that everyone. My GoPro just died on me, ran out of battery. But one thing I did notice just there actually was this is quite a tall seat actually. I was on my tippy toes on either side of the bike, which is interesting. Right, let's see if I can do a 0 to 60 run. I don't know, let's see here. See if I've got enough space here. Ready? 3, 2, 1. It's a shame I can't get to 60 at top end of first gear. That would be nice. Not the best launch in the world. A little bit of a wheelie. Maybe we can do one more. Let's see here. Should have the space. Okay. Here we go, a little bit downhill. Way. Okay, I mean, launching is hard on this bike. That clutch really bites. Come on, let's try and fit in one more. Let's see if we can do it properly. All right, here we go. There we go, that was proper little 0 to 60 there. Not the best, but as you guys know, I'm not the best anyway. And because these bikes, I mean, you know, I get them, I've never ridden them before, I've never had a go on these bikes before. Sometimes it can be challenging to get the best 0 to 60 runs possible, but honestly, like, I'd be surprised if you couldn't get a sub 3.5 second 0 to 60 with this thing. I'd be very surprised. Sheep! But yeah, this thing loves to wheelie as well, so just keep that in mind. This isn't, I wouldn't say this is a beginner oriented motorcycle in a lot of ways, especially with the traction control off entirely, the wheelie control off. When this thing bites, it bites hard. So just something to keep in mind. But I wouldn't say that this is a beginner bike, as I would say with something like a Ninja 650, which is, I mean, in terms of the engine design, very similar in terms of displacement and things like that. But yeah, this thing is actually a lot more, has a lot more going for it than the spec sheet would imply. But before we park up, shall we hear it one last time? Here we go. I like it. I do like it. You do get quite a lot of hot air being blown, obviously, through these areas here onto your legs. That's not really something to complain about, because a lot of bikes are designed like that. The air's got to go somewhere, and so naturally they are going to filter it directly away from the radiator. The radiator's right here, so naturally it is going to be going straight onto your legs. So it will make you feel a little bit warm, but there you go, everyone. That is the Aprilia RS 660. Really sorry, everyone. I didn't realize my GoPro was facing down again. But anyway, I've had a fantastic experience on this bike. I've absolutely loved every second of it, and I would thoroughly recommend it. This bike is definitely worth its price tag. And the fact that this is, it's kind of like a super bike in disguise, I think is really neat. This is a little engine. This is an engine that you'd kind of think is for beginners, but actually there's a lot more going on with this bike than this spec sheet would imply. So definitely, as I mentioned earlier, go ahead and test ride one of these if you haven't done so already and you're looking to buy one. You'll love it. You really will. And the fact that this is our first Italian motorcycle on the channel, I mean, what a privilege it is to have a go on something like this, man. This is awesome. But thank you ever so much for joining me on today's ride, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you own one of these things, would you ever buy one? If you own one, what's it been like for you? Definitely let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any more of our Italian motorcycle reviews going forward. And we'll catch you all in the next video. Take care. Ride safe.